Good evening. This is Arunava Chaudhary. You are live on my YouTube channel, arunfoot. It is Wednesday, September the 24th, 2025, and it's another Indian football discussion here. And at the start of the show, once more, the reminder, if you like the conversation, if you want to be part of the conversation, do like, share, and subscribe. Help me to grow. I'm slowly etching towards the 3,000 mark, and I need your help to achieve that. Not only that, but also spread it amongst other people so we can grow the community of people who are willing to have an honest and frank discussion on Indian football. And thanks as always. And also do watch my short videos that I try and make on a regular basis, and try and hype my content as well. Help me to reach more people, and as I say, watch the shorter videos. Something I did earlier today in regard to the Super Cup, did yesterday something about AIFF and the potential FIFA ban. Before that, speaking about the probables or not there, the probables of the Indian national team, and of course the Supreme Court on the Indian Constitution. So do watch all of those videos, and thank you as always for your support. Renal says, Arunda, Supreme Court states that no amendment should be done by AIFF. Right. Practically, it's violating FIFA law, right? So if we can get a ban until the Supreme removes this own clause from Constitution, we will be banned, right? Sorry, you also then add, so I think it'll take a lot of time until we clear this mess that Rahul Mehra guys are everything Bajaj is like they are saviors with a little more than Kalyan and other Babus. Renal, let's come to the first part of this whole Supreme Court judgment and the new AIFF constitution. As you very, very rightly say, that this constitution has a number of flaws in it. Well, let's call it that at this moment in time. It's got a lot of things in it which shouldn't be there, which are there. And the problem of this new constitution is, as you rightly say, that there are points where they say that the constitution needs to be, if any amendments are made, they need to be cleared by the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's oversight of the All India Football Federation should actually factually end with their involvement now in producing the constitution. Let the AIFF run by itself, right? That should be the key point of things happening at the moment. And therefore, for me, that point, again, we're not going to get to that point. And that's the disturbing part of everything that we can do, will do, should do. But, to me, that's the challenge. And yeah, we're not in the right thing. And again, yes, Rahul Mehra's point on one side, you need to have more representation from athletes, is a nice thought. But the reality of that nice thought is, at the end of the day, is that if I look at an Indian context and look, at Kalyan Chaubey and at PT Usha, then it should be very, very clear for you that no, administration is not something which you can get into if you do not have the required knowledge and understanding. And we see also people who have the required knowledge and understanding, for them, sometimes these kind of roles and jobs are a little too big for them or for their shoes, because these things are not easy, and these things are very, very challenging. So therefore, for me, it is not very easy. Good evening, Vignesh. Good evening, Traderwala. Good evening, Ashish. Good evening, Siddharth. And Ashish asking, "Kaise ho aap?" Ashish, I'm doing fine. Just a little stressful at the moment, I would say, with the pujas coming up here, Durga Puja, and we organize one of the biggest Durga Pujas of its kind here in Germany. So I happen to be the president of that puja, so therefore that is quite challenging. So therefore, tomorrow is my sort of last live in a week's most probably, and then I'll be back most probably in the second or the third, depending also on my time. So therefore, yes, I am fine, but again, a little stressful at the moment with everything that is happening. Right. So we are in the situation we are in. Where do we go from here is always a question that can be asked. There's a huge danger looking forward. And to me, that is, I think, the big challenge at the moment is how do we get out of the situation? How do we, structure ourselves in such a way that we can be more, successful in the long run within the system that we have. And again, if the courts are going to be allowed to intervene in these matters, it is a problem in itself. I think the understanding needs to be at some stage that and that one needs to allow the federations to run. And if there are problems, there are international bodies, there are means and ways to intervene. And I think the sports tribunal that the AIFF, that the government of India was talking about in the new National Sports Governance Act, I think that's going to be important. But my question is, who's going to sit on those? Right? My concern is that who is going to sit on those, and those who want to sit on them will be the same people who are involved in the things that we see now. Is there an understanding? Because I see a lack of respect from the Supreme Court for international institutions and organizations in general. And that is something which I find very, very dangerous, to say the least. So Ochud says, hi, welcome Ochud, welcome back. This weekend we'll be visiting to Durga Puja. Best of luck for us. Thanks, Ochud. Yes, it is one of those times in the year, right, where especially we as people who are Bengalis who really look forward to this. It's the most important festival in the calendar for Bengalis. And if we see, of course, yesterday the heavy rains, the cloudburst, people have died yesterday. Very sad to see, especially in this run up to the Durga Puja is always very, very hard. But again, that's going to be one thing that we look forward to. And therefore, yeah, let's see what happens. As always, it is something that's there, and that's reality as well. Right. Asian Games criteria, sad, same old story. You have to be top 8 in Asia to participate, so football won't make it. Uchit, I think we'll have a drama story until next year about the Asian Games, which in itself, I think, if we want to be clear, do you want to send the under-23s? Do you want to maybe send an under-21s? Do you maybe send an under-20s? That is the question that the AIFF needs to decide for itself, and then decide on who to send. But don't make it a drama like last year, where in the end the government tells you, you know what, we want Sunil Chhetri, we want Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, we want Sandesh Jingan to be part of the team, send those players, please. And then you make a complete mess of it. And then, there is a FIFA window, there is the under-23 qualifiers and others. So therefore, all these things, again, and that was the mess 2 years ago. It will not happen because the under-23 qualifiers just happened, and it will happen again in 2027. But still, these are issues, problems, criterias that we need to keep in mind. And that makes it very, very complex. So therefore, I hope we can sort those things out and can work, work those out. And it's something which we'll have to think about and realize, the question remains: can we sort those things out, or no? Can we not sort those things out? And to me, at the moment, I don't know. I don't know if the federation has learned its lesson from the chaos 2 years ago, or will it make again the mistake? And so therefore, for me, the question is, at the end of the day, can we ensure that we, the question remains, if it can work, or if it cannot work. Your take on current EXCO continuing this term, Ochut, a very delicate theoretical question, in my opinion. If you ask me, the ideal scenario would be if we have the right constitution coming in, which is conform with the statutes, norms, and other things of FIFA, then I think I would say the best way to solve it would be that on the that it's that the EXCO ratifies the constitution. That it, as I said, it needs to be FIFA conform, FIFA and AFC conform. At the moment, I don't think it will be cleared by FIFA. And then you also decide to dissolve the current EXCO and to be an interim body until elections in 30 to 60 days. That would be an ideal case scenario. Kalyan Chaubey and team seem to be celebrating, and that they're still there, that they're still around. But to me, that is, that's not something to celebrate at the moment. That's part of, in my opinion, part of the problem, not part of the solution. And that's a concern, in my opinion. And therefore, if you would ask me, once again, my ideal approach would have been to say, you know what, the EXCO ratifies the new constitution, and as per the new constitution, you hold elections within a short period of time. Maybe 30, 60 days might be too, maybe not natural, maybe 3 months, but get it over and done with. Now what we know is that the current EXCO under Kalyan Chaubey wants to continue and wants to finish its term next year. That seems to be their aim, and that seems to be the situation at the moment. Are under-20s worthy, by the way, for Asian Games? I think from the performance that they did in the qualifiers, yes. I think this year's under-23, we have to say, right, a few players fall out from that team because they will be overage next year. But if I look at that team, I think yes, I think they would be worthy to play in the Asian Games. What they can do over there is a different story and different question altogether. Hockey India League also in problems. 3 teams pull out. Puchut, Hockey India League is sadly an example of a franchise league with too high cost in a short span of time, taking too much money from the investors. That's the problem of Hockey India League, and it is the third avatar of an Indian league, right? You have to think, was it 2005, 2006? They started with the first one. I think it was Premier Hockey League, I think, at the time. And then Hockey India League came about. In the second avatar, it also failed. Now it's his third avatar. It is difficult to run professional franchise leagues in an Indian context is a huge challenge. That the ISL has been running, per se, without any issues for the last 11 years, and that's good. But look at where we stand, where Reliance, who gave that league the structure, said, oh no, we're gone. Thank you very much. Tata bye bye. The whole system could collapse, right? And that's the problem that even Kabaddi is facing at the moment, with Star Sports reducing its inputs. It is not easy to run, professional leagues, or what I would call tournaments. Because our other problem is in Indian sports, outside of the ISL, outside of the I-League, Indian sports doesn't have leagues. They call them all leagues, but they're all short tournaments. They happen. The shortest ones are 2 weeks. And again, even the IPL is now, a tournament of 7 weeks? So this needs to be known when we talk about India and Indian context, about leagues and sport, that is one of the challenges, I would say, in an Indian sporting context. Just said Colombo met FIFA and proposed 64 teams for 2030 World Cup. Ochu, that's been a proposal that CONMEBOL has been making to FIFA now. I think, I don't know how many times over the last year and a half, I think. And I think 48 is already challenging, but 48 is, again, already will be to some extent a little bit of a dilution of standards. But 64 is, I guess, a little too much, right? I mean, are you going to go by then and maybe do wildcards or other things? Again, very difficult to say for me. Again, I think 48. Let's see how that goes, and then we can have a conversation about maybe growing it in the future. Almost all the players from this recent under-23 team will be eligible for Asian Games if we win, says Hannibal. That's a good question, actually. Let me just check once. India under-23s. Where do they stand? In regard to age next year around this time. Who falls off? Yeah, actually, all of them still would be eligible. If I look at this under-23, if that's the window, yeah, maybe Parthiv Goe falls off. Mohammad Sahif falls off. Because Jungnam could be on the edge. Vibin, Mohammed Ayman, Namte, and Ayush Chhetri. All of these guys could be on the edge, depending on if you have to be minus 23. 48 is fine. 64 is too much. Yeah, Uchud, I think I agree with you on that. I think if we want to go at numbers, I think the numbers of 48 is okay. But let's play a 48 team World Cup first. Then we can have a conversation about it, because at the moment we were talking potentially about 48 team World Cup, sorry, and we still don't know what the impact will be of the 48 team World Cup, right? If 64 teams will happen only once in 20, 30, 400 years of FIFA World Cup, Hannibal, I'm not sure. So that's the question, and the FIFA will have to answer. But I think there's growth of international football per se, because you're already using more time next year for a 48 team World Cup. If you're going to do a 64 team World Cup, how are you going to do it, right? The question is then 64 teams, how do you do then, groups of, 16 groups of 4, and then, I don't know, do you have to do a second group stage, or do you then do straight knockouts? I don't know. How will you solve this? Because I remember originally FIFA said, you know what, we'll play a round of I think 16 teams would have been eligible for the group stage, and the other 32 will play against each other in groups of 3, and then teams will get through. Yeah, but we'll have to see what happens according to the system. Will women's team be eligible for Asian Games? Is it seniors for them or under-23 as well? No, Uchut, it is seniors. So interestingly, in the Olympics as well as in the Asian Games, or even in the European Champ, wherever there are these kind of continental championship, it is an open competition. There are no age restrictions in the women's game. So that is one of the big differences between the men's game and the women's game. In the men's game, because there are too many matches, FIFA had stepped in and said, it's only under 23s, and that under 23 rule has been picked up, for example, by the Asian Football Confederation for the Asian Games, and therefore the Olympic Committee of Asia, or the OCA, also follows that rule as well. So therefore, that's why we have an under 23 competition for men's at Asian Games level, and a senior level competition for the women's. And I think the women's will be eligible because, yeah, again, if that top 8 logic comes in, then we're out. But if we're going to come in and say, again, this rule to me is very, very inflexible as well. So therefore, that's something which we need to look at. Right, more than 20 minutes. Quick reminder to all of you who are watching and listening, maybe even afterwards. If you're liking the conversation, please be a part of it. If you're watching it now live, 5 likes so far. I think we can do better. And of course, also, if you want to share the content with others, please do that. And also, if you like what you're hearing, like what you're seeing, do subscribe to the channel. We're at the moment at 2,970. So been going up and down, and help me reach the 3,000 mark, and then achieve another milestone. And thanks a lot for that as well. And as I say, do watch the short videos as well, and support the channel as always as you do. And of course, please hype the videos. Tomorrow, Ivan Vukomanovic make a debut in Malayalam movie. Okay, so this is true, right? That he did, or he is part of a Malayalam movie. Interesting. Good for Ivan, and it's insane that what he's achieved in Kerala, and with the love and dedication of the fans. Ni hao, Goku, welcome back to the channel, to you and to everybody. And have you guys heard anything about the senior national team, right? So that's one of the things that and so therefore for me and national team, again, we have had problems on that front in regard to players being released for the camp. So Khalid, and we'll have to wait and see what happens really on that, and therefore let's wait and see what happens. And his role in movie is important. Okay. So that's something. Hi, Ishan. Hope you're doing well. Yeah. Thanks, Ishan. I am doing fine. Hope you're doing good. Good to see you. And do that. And change the thumbnails as well. Yeah, I try and do that in between work. So therefore for me, sometimes it is just a matter of a time. So yeah, I know I should do it better, but I've not really had the time to really change the templates for myself. Was it our futsal team's first ever win? I don't think it's a first ever official win, I think. And but it is our first ever official international futsal victory. So therefore, this is in the qualifiers for next year's AFC Futsal Asian Cup. So therefore, and that way, a big achievement for the team, and great to see that for the boys. And 3-0 against Mongolia, you still have to win it, right? So therefore, for me, a win is a win, and therefore, congratulations to the futsal team. Why have ISL Cups restarted paying salaries? Did they anticipate a positive outcome of the saga? Honestly, things are still going south. Ishan, they thought that with things happening in and around the league, that most probably things are moving in the right direction, and therefore they thought it made sense for them to get back into action, and that is the reason. But again, it is today the 24th of September, and I'm not sure where we stand on the tender process for the commercial rights of the AIFF, and therefore for me, and I think the bigger point was that if the clubs wanted to terminate contracts and use the force majeure clause, that is something which was no longer possible after the decision of the Supreme Court to tender the rights of the AIFF. So therefore, I think there are multiple things, and again, the hope that Reliance would be around, So yeah, that's the thing. Afghanistan has the second best futsal team in Asia, by the way. Let that sink in. Yeah, Hannibal, their futsal team has played World Cup, so yeah, that's a fact. Hey Roshan, I saw your video mentioning promotion and relegation and giving fourth tier Germany as example. That reminded me of SV Rödinghausen, who won the fourth Regionalliga West, and didn't go up due to lack of viability. Yeah, Roshan, there are multiple examples. Forget Rödinghausen in the fourth tier. We've had in the Oberliga Nordrhein a number of teams who didn't go up to Regionalliga West, which is the fourth tier, because the clubs themselves said we are not in a position to be able to play fourth tier football. Or because we've had last season the situation in the Regionalliga West where 3 teams faced financial issues, infrastructure issues, because they went to the fourth tier without being ready. Türkspor Dortmund wasn't ready. 1. FC Düren wasn't ready, and KFC Uerdingen, who I visited a few weeks ago, they were not ready. So therefore, again, this is what people forget, that yes, you can get promoted on the football field. There could be reasons for the state, regional, or national sporting bodies say, you know what, you're not going to be eligible for the higher division league. And another example, of course, is that you could not be ready with the infrastructure, right? So Türkspor Dortmund had never, a stadium to play, right? They had to rent grounds elsewhere to be able to play fourth division football, and yeah, those are all things, and therefore, promotion and relegation, none of that, in my opinion, in a constitution of the All India Football Federation, none of that needs to be set by the Supreme Court of India, you know. And to me, that's going to be the big question, is we're not willing to learn from others. So therefore, yeah, that's the reality. Are there any Indians playing in Germany lower divisions or Indian origin? Goku, there are a few who play. I know a few boys who played or play 5th, 6th, 7th tier of football over here. But again, those are all amateur players. They play for fun. And yeah, so there are. Yes, Uerdingen, Ponomarev Masterclass. Oh, Roshan, how not to invest in a football team and how to destroy it. I mean, 5 times the club went bust, KFC Uerdingen, and they're still around. Incredible. I mean, we went there for the Niederrhein Pokal with the SSV Bergsporn a few weeks ago. It's impressive to see what they have or not have, and so therefore, yeah, very simple. What were we doing all these years? Why didn't we play a single futsal match before 2023? And what was doing with futsal team in 2023? Hannibal, all valid questions. It was something that we didn't focus on. We started in 2023. If you look at Minerva Punjab and Delhi FC were actually top teams in futsal, and he suddenly became team manager. That question needs to be asked: how it happened, why it happened. And therefore, yeah, we never focused on it. And again, our infrastructure is not there really to play futsal. As indoor sports is a big problem, because you don't have futsal in India to some extent is played outdoors. It's not an outdoor game, it's an indoor game. It's an indoor football, right? I know people who play on these turfs by futsal rules. Nice to do, but futsal to me is and will be an indoor game rather than an outdoor game. So that needs to be kept in mind. That needs to be remembered. Real test begins in October. All this CAFA success will count for nothing if we falter in the qualifiers. Ishan, 100%. And my worry was with the success in the CAFA Nations Cup, how it came about, right? Afghanistan was the team to beat. Again, doesn't matter how, because that was the most appropriate comparison to Singapore, right? And my concern is that even against an Afghanistan, we were defensive. We thought that a defensive strategy is the strategy to go in and try and play football, and that to me was a huge concern if I see the way we played, because that was just not good enough. We were not good enough against Afghanistan. Afghanistan, once again, was better than us, right? We needed to test our attack. And therefore, for me, I'm not sure. English system also have several conditions for motion like capacity of stadium, bank statements, etc. Yeah, Hannibal, this is there everywhere, you know. And the problem is that, you know, when FSDL said, you know, we have certain set criteria, if you want to get promoted, you have to fulfill those criteria to be part of the ISL. I know a lot of people said to me, oh, how can they, you know, they need to be, you know, open and allowed, do we need to be transparent and this and that and everything. Like, guys, the reality is at the end of the day that there are criteria which you need to fulfill. You can run theoretically an I-League team for 2 crores, right? But in the ISL, the teams are running at 50, 70, 100 crores. So the small team, big team difference, yes, is there, right? I mean, Luton Town was running on a much smaller budget than a Man City, a Man U, an Arsenal, a Chelsea, you know, just to name a few. But look at Luton Town going up into the Premier League. Yeah, they got parachute payments, and now they're in League One. They're now in the 3rd tier. So going up also, the leagues, going up the pyramid does not always help you, right? So that's the thing. I mean, if I see where is Luton Town at the moment, right? I'm looking at League One. Luton Town are 11th in the 3rd tier of English football. And, you know, Luton Town 2 seasons ago was such a big story. So therefore, these are realities. And that is something which one needs to factor in as well. Sunil will be crucial. We need to win the remaining matches. Ishan, Sunil needs to join the camp, right? So that's the first thing. To me, you know, and so for me, the question is, when will Sunil and the others join the camp? I know that my FC Goa and my Mohun Bagan players potentially could join on the 1st or the 2nd, but where are the Indian players? Yeah, where are the players from BFC, from Punjab FC, from East Bengal? Interestingly, Gurpreet Singh Sandhu has trained a bit with the Indian team as well. Because it's in Bangalore, I don't know, is he training with both teams? You know, there's no communication, there's no information coming out. It is very, very bizarre that some of this you have to speculate to find out. Do you think no foreign players should be allowed in Indian football, Indian leagues, ISL, I-League 2, 3, 4? I don't know where 4 comes from. State, what's your thought on this? I think I have serious mental issues. Goku, there are 2, 3 things. At the moment, from I-League 2, 3 and the state leagues, no foreigners are allowed, right? Foreigners are at the moment only allowed in the ISL and the I-League, right? So up to I-League 2, Indian players can evolve and develop and become so good that they can make it to the top level, right? That is at the moment our system under which we are playing. Problem is, when these I-League 2 players jump into the I-League and ISL, the jump sometimes is much bigger because you don't have any foreigners involved in it. Exception to me always is Irfan Yadwar, right? That's a guy who made the jump from Bangalore United to Chennai FC, and yeah, made it, right? But otherwise, it's difficult. So therefore, for me, I don't know if completely not allowing foreigners is a good thing, because maybe to have 2 foreigners improves the quality of the team and improves maybe also the players. But again, decision making and crucial positions then are taken up. So there are the plus points, there are the minus points, and that is something, yeah, which needs to be looked at as well. 5-a-side football has been played in India for many years, but agreed futsal is an indoor sport and needs specific technique to play it properly. Uchut, you need a specific ball, as you say, specific technique. You have different rules in futsal. You know, so for me, you know, futsal needs to. I know that there are certain players we've had in the past, players who used to play I-League, and on the side they used to play futsal, and then they were part of the futsal national team. And you know, futsal players in other parts of the world are professionals. They don't play normal football. They only play futsal. So this is something which we need to keep in mind. And you know, things are the way they are. Again, in Indian conditions, things are very often the way they are. and they're different than in other markets. So therefore, that's that, and therefore for me, yeah, it's always a um, you know how do we solve these things in a way which works for them, works for us, works for everyone, and that's the challenge I think that we have in within Indian football, to try and have specialized players for our normal 11-a-side football, this futsal, 5-a-side futsal, and and so for example beach soccer players as well, that we have specialized teams for these different kinds of football which are recognized by world governing body FIFA. So what are the solution for that, Guku? The question is, what do you do? What makes it right? I think I-League 2, I think you could discuss to have 2 foreigners. I think it does make a difference. How many strikers has the I-League 2 produced? Again, Irfan Yadwar is the one that I can talk about. I don't know. So that, but I don't, again, local leagues, yes, I agree. I wouldn't have foreigners. I wouldn't allow it, because then we also have these, a lot of, Africans who've been part of those, and so therefore for me, that would be it. So yeah, so therefore for me, that's the point. Maybe I-League 2 to discuss, to have maybe 2 foreigners, and because you're jumping from 0 foreigners to 6 for playing in the I-League. So maybe something gradual, maybe even reduce the I-League to 3 playing foreigners. So yeah, 4 in the ISL, 3 in the I-League, and maybe 2 in I-League 2. Maybe that, in my opinion, might be an option to try and take this forward. I've played 2 futsal tournaments in 2007 and 2009, proper ball and rules, but outdoors. Kingfisher used to organize a pan-India corporate tournament. Yes, I remember. Kingfisher used to do this corporate football, national level football tournament. Yes, they used to do it. Those were the days where Kingfisher used to be involved in Indian football. Again, now they're partners of FC Goa, or were partners last season of FC Goa. Which stadium will India vs Nepal women's happen in? Sikkim? Does Sikkim have FIFA standard stadium? Hannibal, the second question is good to ask, because Sikkim only have one per se stadium where such a match can happen in Gangtok, and that's the Paljor, which has hosted the Sikkim State League, whatever it's called, Sikkim Premier League, I think it's called, and has hosted the Sikkim Governors Gold Cup, which used to be a big tournament in the past, and used to have a capacity about 15,000. If that is hosting the game, it's going to be wild, because it would be the first ever game to take place in Sikkim. And with all that has happened in Nepal in the recent weeks, that stadium would surely be full, because it's for Sikkimese, it's going to be a derby. A real test if Sabita Bandari is playing for them. That's a good test, defensive test for the Indian women's team backline. And therefore I said it's the Paljor, because I don't see any other stadium in Sikkim which has the capacity to host such a potential match. Question is, of course, if the stadium is FIFA standard or not. And interestingly, that the Nepalis came out and said, you know what, we're playing at that ground, rather than the All India Football Federation making an announcement or a statement on the same. Again, it is the way it is, and we'll have to wait and see what happens, and if the match actually towards the end of next month is going to played there or not. So that's a question that is certainly there. Every state should have a state league. Yeah, Anima? I mean, should be. In certain states which are too big, maybe a state league is asking too much, that you have local city or district leagues. Good example is Maharashtra, where you have the Mumbai League, you have the Pune League, you have the Kolhapur League, Nagpur has its own league. So that's a solution over there. In Bengal now, let's see if the Bengal Super League can really take off or not. So there's a lot of questions on that. A lot of challenges on that as well, and we'll have to wait and see what happens, right? To me, um, these are these are potential opportunities for us, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But state leagues, yes, is something which they should have. And again, if you see, the New Zealand Premier League is very successful, and yeah, it is something where the Goa Pro League, the Kerala Premier League now has dropped down because you've got this Super League Kerala, but you have these state leagues in other states as well. Even Gujarat has now started state league, which again, I was talking early on about the IPL and short tournaments. Again, we need to get out of that short tournament modus and get at least to run 3-4 months. Ideally, they should be running 7-8 months, like the Goa Pro League, but very rare, or Mizoram 6 months. But that's a difficult thing, as such. Right, more than 40 minutes. Once more, a quick reminder: like, share, and subscribe here. Arun Foot on YouTube. Let me grow the channel. Again, like, share, and subscribe, and watch the other videos. 9 likes only today. I think, guys, we can do better. So do leave a thumbs up for me here. Is it possible to get Cape teams registered and have some kind of rules and regulations that they can play in league throughout the year? Every Sunday they should play. Hannibal, if I understand, Cape is something where you jumble up a team and play a competition, and then maybe some of the tournaments go on a little longer, but a lot of these tournaments are so short that next week you might be playing for another team. In some other districts, someone goes, I don't know, North 24 Parganas, someone goes South 24 Parganas, someone maybe stays inside the limits of Kolkata, goes to other districts. I don't think Cape teams can be, because the problem is also some playing 5-a-side, some are playing 7-a-side, 9-a-side. I don't even know if 11-a-side Cape happens. So I don't see them, and the IFA had in the past thought of trying to regulate Cape football, but I've not seen them being able to really regulate those things in Cape football, and that's something which has been very difficult for them. And and therefore for me, very difficult, to figure out if Cape football can be regulated by the Indian Football Association West Bengal. On a lighter note, someone borrowed my futsal and never got it back, which would happen sometimes when you borrow stuff that people don't hand it back to you. Sad to hear, but yeah, these things sadly happen. Right, 43 plus minutes. What do you think, guys? We've not spoken about the India under-17s who will face Nepal in the second semi-final at the Racecourse International Stadium in Colombo in Sri Lanka tomorrow, with a final ticket up for grabs. So Dibyano and his team have reached the semi-final stage from the group. Certain level of controversy against Pakistan the other day, but I said that in the last few days that my only contention with that whole game is, and so therefore for me, 3-2 against Pakistan, that would be my concern, rather than what kind of celebration someone has done or not done. My concern is we only beat Pakistan 3-2. That would be my concern, right? Hi Rudra, welcome back. Banjab says league in my state, especially lower division, is too short. They play 4-5 games a season. How will player develop? Player give to play in 1 leg, 2 leg tournament futsal on a weekend or Sunday. Banjab, it's a problem because clubs don't have money to run for a whole season. Again, if as long as at the top you don't have money which is trickling down the system, which is from the ISL to the I League, from the I League to the I League 2, I League 2 to I League 3, and then to the local leagues, it will not work, and that's the problem. The problem is that there is sometimes in these unorganized tournaments, there is much more money than in the organized football sector in India. And I know there were attempts 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and where uh, to include these people to come into mainstream football, but they didn't want to because it's their own rules and ways they play. Timing at Colombo tomorrow, it is at 7:30 IST, Indian Standard Time. I'm going to try and do a watch along tomorrow. It's 4 p.m. here in Europe. I'll try and do a watch along tomorrow for that semi-final. Let's see what our India under 17 boys can do in that SAF under 17 semi-final. So therefore, come and watch and support. And I'll be doing this this game as a watch along. Like if FSDL getting into tender, will AIFF has to agree according to FSDL agreement or vice versa? Then FSDL will only be allowed to go into the tender as per the criteria set by the Supreme Court. Why would they? We still don't have would they do it? Would they do it or wouldn't they do it? Right? And to me, they would have to agree to what is in the tender. But then why would they go into a tendering process if they wanted to continue, would be my question. Right? It's that time of the year again where Mohanbag Supergiant team excuse player safety and make visa issue of not traveling to Iran. Rudro, it's a joke. It is a joke the way that Mohanbag and Supergiant are trying to handle this matter. It is not even a joke. It's embarrassing, actually, to say the least, the way that Mohanbag and Supergiant is trying to handle the matter. And I think that's a question at some stage that someone needs to ask Mohanbag Supergiant is that, do you actually want to play these matches, or are you scared of getting beaten heavily? That's why you don't travel to Iran, right? Maybe at some stage someone should be asking that question to them, and that's the problem. It is embarrassment, right? And yeah, that's yeah. That why is it something that other teams don't seem to face? Why is it always a Mohun Bagan issue? Here in Jharkhand, top 10, 15 Cape teams have a very rich owner, and they also have same set of players for 2-4 years. Gaurav Mukhi also plays for a team. Yeah, again, in areas where your local football is not strong, there is no Jharkhand league. You have your Ranchi league, you have your Jamshedpur league. I don't even know what happens elsewhere. That is possible, right? But again, forget Cape in Jharkhand. It's even strong in Bengal, right? I mean, in and around Kolkata, Cape gives you more money than playing in the Calcutta Football League. Sevens in Kerala is an option to mainstream football. U23 participation or is government against it? Stop it. Again, Rudro, same discussion every 4 years, or last time around 3 years ago. 2 years ago, but now 3 years next year will be again. It's the same discussion. It's for the AIFF to sort out. But I don't want again that that we have to force our star players to attend because the government wants them to attend. So therefore, yeah, that's part of the problem. Under 17 Pakistan team players are overage, but we cannot just say about looking at player, but by he's overaged. Okay, Goku. And the question that Rudro asks you, which I think is the main question here, why are we looking at Pakistan? I love this, right? It is Qatar, overage, Bahrain, overage. We don't look at ourselves. We don't introspect, So, right? It's our problem is, as Indian football fans, we point the fingers at others, right? We point the fingers at others and don't look at ourselves, right? So therefore, these are this is something which is a problem, right? Hannibal says now low brackets, peasant bracket closed, level throw everything away and travel 100, 200 kilometers to watch Cape Foot tournament finals. I just wanted them to see matches every Sunday in the local grounds. It's crazy, I know. I mean, if you see some of the footage of these Cape tournaments, yeah, it's crazy to see, crazy to watch. If Mohun Bagan doesn't travel to Iran, I think AIFF should ask them. What are they going to ask them, right? Mohun Bagan will then say, oh, this is the reason, that is the reason, this is why, that is why we couldn't travel, this and that, everything. Every other team is traveling, right? Even last time around, yes, the rockets would have flown over your head, but you would have been safe because the Iranian state would have ensured your safety, and Israel would have surely not fired at an Indian football team, right? So therefore, yeah. Do you think any other big corporates getting into the tender process, but today's message in football isn't today? No. There will be some or the other will bid for it. The question is, what are the criteria that they are setting? And if someone wants to come in and the ISL clubs want what they've been getting, then we're talking about someone having to invest about 300, 400 crores a year for, to come in. So that is the challenge. Most of our U17 players get selected from the AIFF Academy. I don't know why. I don't know. Kuku only 6 out of 20 plus players. So that's not the, most or majority. A junior from my college, engineer by education, never worked but played Cape and earned lakhs every month. Very good goalie. I've seen him play. Yeah, Uchut. Cape can be an option. As you say, Cape can be an option for people to earn enough and make a living out of it. And that's a reality of things. And yeah, you can make a living out of it. Simple. And there is a lot of players, CFL level players who played Premier League, Premier Division of the CFL, who have chosen Cape for the rest of the season when the season is not on, right? NASA has given Mohun Bagan lifelong trauma, says Rishabh. Rishabh, the one thing with Mohun Bagan at continental level, which my Mohun Bagan friends don't want to accept, is that Mohun Bagan has been the big failure at continental level for decades. This is not a new phenomenon. Mohun Bagan has always been the team that struggles. East Bengal has always performed better at continental level, not always, but most of the time better than Mohun Bagan, right? Even Mumbai City, even FC Goa, even BFC have performed, or even Dempo have performed better than Mohun Bagan. So that is also a reality which we don't want to talk about, which we don't want to discuss. So therefore, yeah, those are realities which we have, and so therefore, for me, these are all realities, and let's see where we go. Mohun Bagan requesting AIFF to not allow 6-1 because of other teams have better foreign combination with 6-1, then I can defeat them easily. Okay. Sorry, Rudro, I thought Mohun Bagan wanted the 6 foreigners rule, right? Let's see. As per your wish, what would be the ideal method to get out of this mess and to continue ISL? I know, get Reliance back. Let Reliance organize the ISL. That's the only option. To me, that's the only option. Anyone else who's coming in, if they're not big enough, if they don't have the pockets, I don't think the league can survive, right? And forget ISL. If the AIFF has to organize this and look at the way they organize their tournaments, do you think that they can do that? Who will come on board as a broadcast? I don't think so. So let's see. Some dude in Australia scared the players. Hannibal, I don't think so. I don't think the players care that much. I don't think the players care that much. If they have to travel, they'll have to travel, they'll play. The one or the other player might say, I don't want to travel. I don't think the players are the problem. I think the club is using the players. Mohun written to AIFF to only allow 4 foreigners in playing 11. Okay. Here in Jharkhand, all the Cape teams have similar playing pattern of counter-attacking like Northeast United FC. Interesting. Sadly and a bit surprising, Mohun Bagan always had poor Asian record. Don't really pinpoint the reason, but that's a fact. Yeah, Uchut, sometimes you have, we are talking facts, right? This is not some speculation that I am making or you are making or anybody else is making. This is a fact that that they are that they're not there, that they haven't had the success that East Bengal has had. Simple, right? East Bengal has been to an AFC Cup semi-final. They've won the ASEAN Club Championship in 2003. So, beaten big teams. So let's see. Well, ISL clubs even going to sign 6 foreigners with no ISL dates. Rishabh, my question simply to the clubs would be, is maybe Odisha FC smarter than you guys by saying, you know what, we're not starting anything. Let's wait and watch what happens. If the ISL happens, we'll rejoin. Maybe that step is the smarter one at the moment. I don't know. It feels to me that could be the smart move in regard to, you know what, this is the mess we find ourselves in. Maybe this is the best way out. Because I'm surprised that the clubs have agreed to play the Super Cup. Because to me, the Super Cup is not sort of sorted. Right? That to me, that clubs have said, we'll play this. So, because I don't even know if the ISL will happen. I still don't know if the ISL will happen. What is KPMG putting together as a commercial tender docket for someone to come in? Will it attract someone big? Will Reliance even think about it? Will, I don't know, maybe someone like a Shrachi come in? So, yeah, let's see. Iran have issued e-visas. Now it's up to players if they want to travel or not. Okay, Rudro. Next step for Mohun Bagan should be to become International Club of India, if that's a thing. Yeah, Rishabh, not happening. If not some dude in embassy, then Bengali media is making things up because Mohammad Sujin was in touch with the Iranian club. Anibal, my question is, if you remember at the post-draw, didn't the Bengali media report, Sepahan was in touch with Mohun Bagan. Sepahan wants to welcome Mohun Bagan to Isfahan. And for that, they will offer them a plane. Don't need to worry. The foreigners are welcome and all. I don't know, whatever, BS was sold at the time, right? We do not know what is really true factually or not. This, to me, once again, seems to be constructed, that Mohun Bagan, in an ideal case scenario, does not have to travel to Iran and get smacked. That is the reason why they didn't travel to Tractor last year. Let's be very, very clear. They were scared to lose heavily. And at the moment, because Sepahan is lost to Al Husseini, they're under pressure. So therefore, for me, that's the question. Right? So, not sure which way this whole thing is heading, but it is very, very complex and very, very complicated, and I don't see any sensible solution to it, except Mohun Bagan traveling from Kolkata, I don't know, via Dubai to Isfahan or Doha. But how will getting FSDL back solve the constitution points like AIFF organizing top tier and promotion relegation? Can AIFF and F still work out a way where they delay relegation, work on agreement about the top tier? Renal, I don't know. The constitution is an AIFF thing to sort out. The tender is a totally different process. The constitution in its current form, let me be very clear. I said it in a video, sadly, which has not been viewed by many people. Do share the video. Could the AIFF and Indian football face another FIFA ban? Where I explained simply, the constitution in the way that it is set at the moment by the Supreme Court of India is a reason for FIFA to step in and say, thank you very much, Tata, bye-bye, you are not playing. Right? The ban. The constitution as it stands in its form today is a reason for FIFA to ban India. Nothing else. So therefore for me, right? And AIFF and FSDL is the next step. Promotion relegation to me in this system doesn't make sense. I know a lot of people say, it has to happen. It has to happen. No, it doesn't have to happen. First of all, do we have 14, 16, 18 teams to play a top tier league? No, we don't. We do not have the players to play a league. You have to understand all of these things. Theoretically, I could say, hey, listen, I can have 16 teams, 18 teams in a top tier league. Yeah, great. Do we have the players? Do we have the quality to play an 18-team top tier league? No, we don't. The reality is in the last 2-3 years was clearly visible. A 10-team league is at the moment the max we can sustain. And the clubs are losing money every second. So to ensure that the clubs also get a stable system, we need to figure out how can you make club football commercially viable. So from that perspective, a lot of questions that need to be answered. Shachi bid for FIFA World Cup 2026 and 2030 broadcast and wants to show it free of cost. Yes, Ochud across South Asia. Yeah, let's see what happens. Who bids? Who doesn't bid? It's not that Indian football isn't selling. We have to be honest. Football isn't selling in the Indian market. So yeah, let's see. This Monmouth Super Giant team should not win Super Cup again. For God's sake, we don't want humiliation in Asia every year, says Rudro. Yeah, forget the Super Cup. They win the ISL, right? Let's be real. In last 15 years, FSL built a base India didn't had in entire football history. If they go, everything will fall apart. People saying, but FSL couldn't make India top team in the last 15 years. But look at the competition in Asian football. It'll take a lot of time to achieve anything in football. Yeah, but Renal, yeah, very, very valid point. Very good point from you. But I think the bigger point here is which should be discussed is that FSDL also made the mistakes, right? And they're not perfect, And to me, the question here is now, where do we go? Where are we, and where do we go? Because at the moment, we are in a situation that FSDL not only created the ISL, they created the Reliance Foundation Development League. They have the Reliance Foundation Young Champs program. The Reliance Foundation supports programs like the Nopang League. So therefore, for me, those are all key factors, which we shouldn't forget. A dude who covers Iranian football, Irfan Hussain, said that all the foreigners of Monmouth Supergiant have got their visa. Okay, interesting to know. I attended trials at the Sports Authority of India back in school days where I saw a poster of a player selected for Delhi FC. Coaches were enthusiastic, saying he could be the next big thing for Indian football with potential opportunities abroad, but I haven't seen him play for Delhi FC state team or elsewhere. Seems to have vanished from football side. I wonder what happened given the initial hype. Goku, there are a lot of players at youth level who seem to be this, that, and everything. But the reality is that, yeah, they don't make it, right? We've had a lot of players coming up. I always say my prime examples are 2005, 2006, when we had players like Bimal Pariyar and Lalan Puya, right? Lalan Puya was ahead of Sunil Chhetria in the pecking order of Mohun Bagan strikers when Sunil first joined. And if you would have asked me in 2005, 2006, I would have said Lalan Puya is the next big thing in Indian football. Ahead of Sunil Chhetria, 100%. But Sunil, with his dedication, hard work, has worked his way up the system. Lalan Puya hasn't. So that's the first big difference between those two. And to me, also, a problem is that Lalan Puya didn't do what was needed of him to be a professional footballer. So therefore, those are realities. And that's this. But the problem is, we have a lot of players, but they've never make the cut. So until Supreme Court removes these own authority from this constitution, we will be banned, right? As FIFA doesn't allow third-party intervention. Yes, Brandon. That is my reading of the whole thing. Mohun Bagan Supergiant is an absolutely finished club when it comes to Asian football. Annual, I don't know, finished club or whatever you want to call it. Mohun Bagan, I don't know. This is one thing again, and this is football. Sometimes the success or failures of teams in certain tournaments, competitions happen, and you can't explain it. I also feel the global scenario is distracting people from sports and entertainment, not just the general public. It's affecting corporates, sports federation, and all. Yeah, it could be. Could be a big factor, which, without being discussed, is a factor. Sir, in AIFF we have corruption, but sir, doesn't African nations have that in huge aspect? They also lack infrastructure, but we have that. What is going on for us? Raj, youth football. The starting and the ending point of the whole discussion is youth football. Coaches. I think coaches and competitions are our biggest problems. In Africa, the problems that you're saying, talking about the AIFF, not only Africa, even in South America and certain countries, even countries who've won the World Cup, the federations are worse than the AIFF on any day. But they are successful. Yeah. Lalan Puya was super Rooney-like physique, but lack of focus. Yeah, Uchud, lack of focus, and I jokingly say Park Street killed the boy, right? And his capabilities. East Bengal won Calcutta Football League. Yes, Raj, they won it once again, and yeah, let's see what is the next step for East Bengal Football Club. Do you think most of these poster boy stories work in India is because of the underlying issue of age fraud, or maybe I'm wrong here? Yeah, age fraud is a problem, and age fraud is a general problem. It's not a side problem or a small little issue. It's a huge problem for Indian football. So it was there, it is there, and hopefully one day it will not be something that we'll discuss. But it's a massive problem for Indian football. So why doesn't a player back in 90s then even went to go abroad other than 1-2 players? I'm not sure about Europe or Tunisia. Because Guku, nobody cared about our players. We are very insular, we're inward looking. And the opportunities didn't crop up. The second someone gave Baichung a chance to go, he went. Ian Vijayan got chances or potential offers. Vijubhai never thought about it, went. Joe Parancheri never thought about it, never went. Right? Yes, they played in Bangladesh, let's say, for a short period of time for matches, but otherwise they didn't go anywhere. That's also a reality. So yeah, that's how it is. Are Odisha FC gonna survive? I don't know. Very good question. I don't know. At the moment, it looks like more likely no. And if Odisha FC survives, maybe they'll shift somewhere else. But at the moment, it looks very difficult. I think a lot of these things will depend on what happens to the ISL. So therefore we are in a very delicate situation, and there needs to be solutions to those problems. An XYZ player plays a brilliant game, and next day fans be like, we want this player in national team, we had them too early. Yeah, Raj, we live off hype. Under 23s, let those boys settle down in the ISL, right? We were talking 2 years ago a lot about, you mentioned him. I was about to mention Parthiv Gover as my example. Yeah, a good example. Very talented boy, but he's not been able to make that next step to be a regular and to be pushing for the senior national team. He's not been able to do that. Because why? Because we have, most of our players are late bloomers. I love to go back to the example of Rahul Beke, who became the Lord at East Bengal and people didn't trust him, went to BFC, even scored a winner in the ISL, and Rahul Beke in the last 2-3 years has become one of our best, most dependable centre backs, right? Who would have thought that Rahul Beke as well as Mehtab Singh, who both were failures at the end at East Bengal, would go on to become key defensive players, right? So this is the way that football moves on and develops, and it is sometimes there is no logic to things, right, that you and I have to talk about within Indian football. And again, we are late bloomers. That's part of reality, part of the problem. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the players, yeah, that's reality. And that's why Raj, I mentioned Mehtab Singh, two very, very good examples on that front. But where's the problem lies? The lack of any long-term planning, or is the lack of training since grassroots? Lack of training, lack of specialized training, lack of competitive football at grassroots and youth level. Very, very clearly. And don't tell me it's infrastructure. Again, large parts of the world don't have any infrastructure. If you're able to play on a bad ground, if you're a good footballer, or forget good footballer, if you're a good sports person, if you're able to adjust to bad ground conditions, when you get a proper football field or whatever you have, artificial hockey turf or whatever field you get, that will be should be a lesser of a problem for you, and that is something which I don't understand. So therefore, yeah. So therefore, yeah, that's the reality. Right, 1 or 10 minutes. Quick reminder to those of you who are watching either live or watching later on. Leave a like behind. 12 likes so far. Share it with other people to join our conversations. Do subscribe. We're at 2,970. We're still 30 short of the 3,000 mark. So do help me to grow the channel to 3,000. And yeah, thanks a lot as always. Now, no one barks about Gurkirat, the national team. But good, another example. Gurkirat last season at Mumbai City would have gotten his chances as a striker if he remained at Mumbai City. At Chennai, Owen Coyle gave him some chances, didn't like him, and then, and as Raj says, is Gurkirat getting minutes in ISL? Not called up to under 23s. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Can we make Vinay Chopra, Sir, President of AIFF, look at his track record? Sushmit, good evening or good afternoon rather to you. And when I see your smiling face picture next to that, I know that is a sarcastic comment for you. Yeah, but these are the kind of people running teams in Indian football these days. No? That's part of the problem rather than part of the solution. And therefore, we're stuck where we stuck, right? So therefore, yeah, things need to change and they're not changing. I read Project Lakshya had even 67% of it been implemented, we would have been in Asian top 10 by now. Uchut, I would have loved if Lakshya and the plan from Rob Barn and Scott O'Donnell was so good, in my opinion, that this could have worked in a way that it would have, forget 60-70%, even if 40% of it were implemented, we would be better off today with our football. Because let's forget the top tier. If even the parts of the grassroots and youth development part would have been implemented, we would produce other players. We would produce better quality players. That is our real problem. And what happened to Ishan Pandit, retired? Hannibal, no, he's not retired. He had injury problems and again, wrong decisions of, yeah. Right. You have to choose your clubs right, especially as a striker, because you need minutes. It's willingness and mindset players like what you have said, like place for Africa from poorest countries. They don't have any single grass field or ground to make it into football world. That Indian player cannot even think. Goku, that's the point. We have players also coming from very, very poor conditions, players from rural areas, but the money and the mindset we have in Indian football spoils the players. When we spoke with Lalinzola Changte about going in 2019 for trials with Viking Stavanger, there were other players potentially in the mix. 2013, I had an opportunity with Fortuna Düsseldorf, at the time second German Bundesliga, to allow 2 players to come and train with Fortuna, right? I, at the time, picked 2 of the best players in the system to come and train with Fortuna. Both the players declined. Then we had number 3, number 4, even they declined. So therefore, those are realities, which if I like or not, but those are realities. Indian players cannot even, Shushmit, yeah. I for the first time heard that Australians can go back to home country if they go to Iran. Back in the days, it was called, rather not say what you've said and written. Adi says the lack of great determination, both the players and the federation, that we're not progressing. No, it's not the federation. It's, to some extent, I would push it more on the players and the coaches rather than the organizers. So I think great determination, desire, those are all problems. I also noticed that ones who are hyped in ISL have been given chances in ISL, prime ex-Parthiv, whereas Gurkirat didn't. Raj, it depends, I think, to player, right? The reality is, to me, If I look at players, they are given chances. And foreign coaches, despite whatever is being said, they give chances to players. But if players don't make it, then the coach will move on and try someone else, right? He will not wait for a player to be successful. That is the problem. What degree do I need to become a Manda Tamane and Viren Chopra? How to get into managing teams? Hannibal, both of them have never studied sports. Vinay has something to do with finance, and Mandar is someone who owns an own business. So they are not sports management professionals. Sir, I want to also mention about viewing experience of games, broadcasting about European games, the stadium, the crowds look eye-catching. No, it doesn't, Raj. See, the problem is, yes, they make it eye-catching for you. Watch a Premier League game. Watch a Bundesliga game, watch a La Liga game. I will tell you any day, the experience in a German football stadium will be better than those two others. But sometimes, for example, go to a full Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in Kochi. The atmosphere will be better than in some of the European stadiums. Go in Kolkata to a derby. The atmosphere could be potentially better than in Europe, right? So it is subjective, right? It is and even look at the ISL. The TV product has been better than what used to be there in I-League and NFL in the past. The product on television, if I look at one football internationally, is much better than used to be in the past. I feel a lot of ISL club will pull the plug if FCL exits. Do you also feel like it? Yeah, of course. Then the point at the moment is a lot of clubs are thinking, why did we restart our operations? Right? That's a question I think that a lot of ISL teams are thinking about themselves. Better coaches, better scouting, better training, better players. It's a cycle. Yeah, 100%. Indian players don't have vision because of low quality education. Hannibal, is it? I don't know if it's education. It's football education. Don't call it general education. It's football education. Peripheral viewing is something that none of the Indian players seem to have, right? But my concern is, our players have problems with football basics. Our players are not good enough technically to play football. Simple question, simple observation, right? We've had problems with that, and that is something which we need to sort. How can we sort? I don't know, right? Those are our realities at this moment in time, that we are unable to produce better players. So therefore, for me, yeah, it's a big problem. Do you see the renovation of Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, Delhi? I want national team to play there. I saw it, Hannibal, but the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium is way too big. It makes no sense for us to play there. I would rather want to have a renovated Ambedkar Stadium, much more compact, much more closer, 20,000-25,000. That's the proper size. And, that's the thing. Right. 1 hour, 19 minutes, nearly fulfilled on this Wednesday evening with this live. Once more reminder, like, share, and subscribe. I know the festive season is coming. There seems to be also a lot of fatigue in regard to following, Indian football, but do spread it, let other people join in the conversations. Raj says it's also that majority players are from rural background. When they get inflated salaries, why would they move abroad? That's the problem, is there is no career planning behind it. I think the agents need to play that proactive role and understand, Baichu Bhutia took a risk, Sunil took a risk, Gurpreet took a risk. All these players took risks. Sandesh took a risk. All of them took a risk to go abroad. I went to Salt Lake Stadium to watch Monbam versus Bashundhara Kings. Had to watch the highlights. Viewing experience is poor. Rishabh, it depends on where you are and how you like to watch football. It can be poor depending on where you're seated or where you're standing. That is why the clubs wrote to AIFF that they need a proper commercial partner for them for long-term growth and future. Well, that's one, but the question is, what's the length of the contract? Are we talking about a 5-year contract? Are we talking about a 10-year contract? Are we talking about 15 years like the old MRA? Nobody knows, right? So that's the thing. Wasn't Ambedkar Stadium getting renovated? Hannibal, supposedly, but the last year I remember Akshata had gone there for the Subrata Cup, and there was nothing, nothing had been done at the time. A random Sierra Leone kid who played in dirt and mud grounds made it into a league, probably Man City. So a problem is an infra, probably not existing grassroots or poor football education. Yeah, Reno, that's the point. And Sierra Leone has been producing players. I remember, forgot the name of a player, 15, 20 years ago, used to play at Inter Milan. JLN Delhi is even worse. Only Tuttle head was visible from lower stand. Rest was hidden behind hoardings. Yeah, it's too big. I watched Punjab FC versus Delhi. Punjab FC versus Jamshedpur FC in Delhi. You can't see anything. You know, any day we'll choose Mumbai Football Arena rather than JLN Kochi or VYBK. Raj, agree. The Mumbai Football Arena is small in size and it's closer, but again, yeah, different stadiums, different structures. I think the Kochi Stadium will collapse after Argentina-Australia game, and they said cooperation will like within 30 days you want to fix the stadium. Goku, the problem, my question would be, would that stadium actually be valid to host a FIFA international game? Simple question. If Bangalore fails an AFC test, how then does this stadium pass it? Simple question from my side. I don't know. I might be wrong, but that would be a question that I would like to ask, right? Right. 1 hour, 22 minutes nearly in this live, slowly coming to an end today. As I said, tomorrow I'll do a watch along of the India versus Nepal match at the SAF Under 17 Men's Championship, and we can talk. Indian football is always on the side of that game as well. Yeah, let's see what happens. Hoping that the boys reach the final, and yeah, we need to keep on working on Indian football. I said, thanks for watching. Those who might be watching, the recording, like the video, share it also, and subscribe to the channel. Again, 2,970 is the number at the moment. 30 to go to reach the 3,000 mark. So do please support, do help, and spread the word about the shorter videos. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and watch it. Again, I did something on the Super Cup yesterday about the Constitution and all the other things. So do help me with that. And thanks as always. And Raj, I'll take this as the last one. The Pakistan match proved that upcoming generation are worse than current. Raj, and that has been happening now for a while. Every year, it seems to be that our talent the others are improving and we aren't. And that is, I think, the biggest concern, that nobody in the coaching spheres, even amongst ex-coaches, ex-players, nobody wants to discuss it. India's biggest football problem. We need to improve grassroots and youth football. We need to get away of saying, hey, listen, I am trying to win under 13, under 15, under 18 tournaments. I need to work towards producing players for the senior level. That should be our aim, and we're not doing that. With that, I come to an end. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, and good night, everyone.